play the music. It saves me a lot of time.
Welcome back to the Fire You Carry podcast. We're back. I'm Kevin, and that's Nole Lily. And
I'm here.
We just reintroduce ourselves. It's been a while. I just got back. My daughter is in her second little season of lacrosse, and I'm like a proud dad right now. She scored her first goal today, and there's a lot of goals in lacrosse. But last year, it was all about like learning the game and learning how to cradle the ball so it doesn't fall out of your stick. And she was just kind of running around. She was like overly aggressive because she came from hockey, and you can't just mash people. Now in the women's game is different than the men's lacrosse. It's almost a different game, but you can't, like, men's have full on helmets, gear, pads, and they can mash each other, but women's cannot. I guess
no contact.
There is contact, but it's dramatically less than the boys for sure. You can't just absolutely check somebody and wreck them.
In lacrosse, you have it's the stick with the net.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the cradle, I get that. How does one score a goal?
So the girl, it's basically what you would think, right? You take the balls in the net, you're cradling it. So the girls have to cradle quite a bit more than the boys because the boys have a pocket in their stick. It's a deeper pocket.
What?
Yeah, that's the thing. So the girls, it's almost flat, so it's harder for the ball to stay in for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know at all. I don't know at all. But it's kind of cool. You know, this is an East Coast thing. We did not grow up with lacrosse. What a cool sport, though, man. It seems like a mix of hockey and soccer and a couple other things. I looked up the history of it. It's a Native American sport. Did you know this?
Oh, I didn't know that, but now that makes sense. I've seen drawings.
And man, if I could be a fly on the wall, because it might have said they had like 50 people on each side, and the game went for like miles.
Whoa.
That would have been rad. That just would have been anarchy.
And fitness.
Yeah, dude, let's go.
Is there a goalie?
Yeah, I got a goalie. Goalie's got a helmet and pads, and they have like what looks like a giant fisherman's net. It's just like literally what you would think if you were going to grab a sea bass. You know what I mean? Like, It's just this big fisherman's net.
Man.
So it's pretty funny. But there's two sports that if you say that you were the goalie in, at least for men's sports, like water polo and lacrosse, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you, because I watched the men's, and they're flying this ball at least, I mean, it's got to be 100 miles an hour or more, right at your face. And these dudes are just taking it. And then water polo, the only thing out of the water is your face. And you have to somehow egg beater the entire time while they're throwing the ball Mach 8 at your face and purposely trying to skip it off the water into your face. So
yeah, I'm not built to be a goalie. I don't have the A, I can't swim, and B, I'm not fast. You take just for the listener out there, you take a swing at me and I'm gonna eat it. I'm not gonna move. I'm just gonna take it. I'm not quick.
It's surprisingly difficult. We have two Marsoc Marines on my shift, and they're absolute studs, and we've been doing some underwater training, which has been cool. But we've been trying to do this thing where we spent 5 minutes just hands above the water. Full disclosure, we have a
drafting pit.
A drafting pit that's the size of a pool and looks like a pool at our station, but it's a drafting pit. So every now and then we go in there and we do some training, and it's been warming up a little bit. So we tried to do 5 minutes with your hands above the water. Dude. And I realized really quickly, like, my legs, I don't know how to egg beater at all. That's a mad respect for these water polo people.
Yeah.
But they were telling us they had to do that. It's just part of their easily qualification. It's something that they had to test often, and they're in like camis and boots and the whole thing.
Yeah, we had to do that fairly frequently in Ranger Battalion too, and I was always awful at it. You gotta explain to the humble listener what a drafting pit is at the firehouse.
It's a pool. Yeah. Somehow.
Well, in your case, that's true. But what do we use it for? Come on. For the UPS driver out there.
Yeah, for the assistant managers, the drivers of the rigs, they have to get water, and sometimes you'd have to get water out of an aqueduct or a pool if there's a brush fire. And so there's a drafting pit, and you can learn how to draft water into the engine as a water source to use as instead of a fire hydrant. So there's all kinds of ways you can do it.
Yeah, it's like sucking it up out of a straw into the pump of the engine.
Yeah.
So you need a standing body of water to practice, which is why at Kevin's station there is a drafting pit, which has coping and it's a pool. It's a swimming pool.
I might go on record. We might have the only pool at a fire station in the country. I mean,
it's the only one.
If you're out there, if somebody's listening out there, and you have a swimming pool at your fire station, holler, because we got to know those people.
Yeah, let
us
know.
It's a nice feature.
It is a nice feature. So I've been eating rice lately. Thought I would talk about that.
Oh, how's that going?
Thought you'd get a kick out of that.
I love rice.
I found out I love rice too. It was never really part of my diet. We'd make it every once in a while at home with the family, but it wasn't really a staple. And then when I had that illness in February, it was like one of the few things that I was able to eat, Yes. Because I was dealing with that gut issue. So I was eating rice, and I've just kind of carried on the tradition. And I'm just really enjoying taking rice and like frying eggs into it and then putting some soy sauce on there.
What are we talking?
Beef
white rice?
And rice? Just straight white rice. I mean,
that's the way.
I have to buy the organic stuff, but yeah, I'm not all about that brown rice. That stuff.
That's trash.
Allegedly, it's better for you. I don't really think that's true.
I don't think it
doesn't. It doesn't taste good. So,
well, if anybody out there, look up a dude named Stan Efferding. They call him the Rhino. He's the world's strongest bodybuilder, and he competed in powerlifting. And he actually happened to do a seminar in Temecula. What I went to, I watched the man deadlift 850 pounds like it was nothing.
Was that part of the seminar?
Yeah. So after the seminar, basically he did it on strength training, on bodybuilding, on powerlifting, and all things general wellness. He's a really, really smart guy in the industry. And then he's got to be close to 60 now or in his 60s. But afterwards, he called it a deadlift party. Hey, everybody grab a bar and let's start ripping some weight, just because everyone wants to work out with him, right? So he takes the bar and he put a band over it. It's just a straight 45-pound bar. And he did like 5 reps with the band. And then he sat down. And then he put 45s on. So you got 135. And he does like 5 reps. And then my man he would completely sit down. He's not walking around. He's just sitting down, and people would talk to him and whatever. He'd wait 2-3 minutes. And then he'd put another 45 on. And he'd get a couple reps. And then he did it all the way up until about like 500 when he was just doing singles. And he just added 90 pounds every time.
Oh, God.
Until he got into like the 850 range. And it's like, oh, that's good. And he completely crushed even the strongest dudes that were there, that were powerlifters, probably got in the 6s.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Well above that. And he was just ripping weight off the ground. It was
I'm guessing he eats rice. Rice is the thing?
Yes. So all that to stay, he has this he has a diet called the vertical lean diet. And you can do it 2 ways. So he recommends there's a famous bodybuilder out there named Flex Wheeler, who is very well known, I think, in the 80s and 90s, and he's just incredibly shredded. But what he would do is he would increase over time the amount of meat and rice that you have. So let's say you start with 4 ounces of ground beef, and then you would have a cup of rice. He would do that for a few weeks, and then the next month it would be 6 ounces and a cup and a half. And over time, now, like, these guys would increase their calorie count so that they can gain muscle. And then he cuts out a little bit of meat and a little bit of rice if you're leaning or trying to lean out.
Okay, yeah.
But it's essentially that. You have eggs and rice in the morning with some fruit. You have meat and rice for lunch and meat and rice for dinner. You know what I mean? With some baby carrots and some other things for some micronutrients. And it's not rocket science, but it's just basically that. And when I have followed that, it's essentially a gluten-free diet because rice is gluten-free.
Right.
And I felt great. I always feel great when I'm consistent on that.
So I had to do some math because I was doing ground beef and rice, and then I thought I'm gonna do some eggs. I haven't eaten eggs in a while because I've been doing just that at work. Obviously, at home, I'm still eating whatever the family's eating. But so I got on. I wondered to myself, how much protein is in half a pound of ground beef? Because I was doing half a pound of ground beef for lunch and half for dinner. A pound a day with the rice. And I thought, it's probably like 4 eggs. I'm just trying to picture it in my brain. It's 6 eggs to equal the same amount of protein as half a pound of ground beef. 6 eggs.
Wow.
Which, when you do that, it really just means you're kind of eating eggs with some rice mixed in, because you can't. That's a lot of eggs.
That's a lot of eggs.
I mean, it's still good, but I was kind of disappointed. I was like, dude, that's a lot of eggs.
Yeah, that's a lot of eggs.
What
now, the pro tip is meat and rice can kind of get bland, but he likes to put in a half cup. So let's say you have a brick of meat, it's a half pound, and you have a cup of rice. You put a half cup of bone broth in that and mix it around, and it softens it up. It gets it some taste. It's delicious.
Bone broth has a shocking amount of protein in it too.
It does, and it has some benefits for your GI system and all kinds of stuff. So,
oh man.
So if you get some bone broth, throw a half cup in there and tell me. And that made that meal dramatically better.
I was in Whole Foods the other day, not by choice. I was there with the other guys on the rig. They wanted to go there. Nothing against Whole Foods, but I don't shop there. And
paycheck.
Right. Exactly. Plus, there's a bunch of really fun and cool stuff in there that costs way too much, and you see it, and you're like, I got to buy that. For example, my buddy Diego was looking for some bone broth, and lo and behold, they sell venison bone broth at Whole Foods.
Whoa.
You can get deer bone broth from deer bones. I don't know if it's any better, but it just sounds better, venison bone broth. I didn't buy any, so I can't tell you anything about it, but
that's nice. There's dude, I think you and I were big on the Walmart for a while because they would have a pack of bison meat, which I think is fantastic. It's a little bit leaner. It looks like, I don't know, looks organic to me. It just got that deep red meat, but I like that. If I can find it and at a decent price, I always get bricks of that.
Yeah, I'm going to say something that somebody listening is probably going to hear and go, that's not true, and they're going to want to correct us, but they can only do that on YouTube, which this video is on YouTube. And we've got some great backgrounds for you today. This one looks like I took one of those like stock backgrounds that you can use, on Zoom.
Yeah.
It's called the storage shed. That's what this is, except this is real. Like
Restock's looking good. Strong work.
Yeah, don't tell anybody we're hoarding Zepp hand soap. Anyway, what was I saying?
I don't know, but I wanted to hear why, because you've been, you were feeling pretty crappy. So did the rice start helping you feel a little better and a little bit more carbohydrates, a little bit more calories?
I think that did help. I was actually also doing bone broth with it. I started taking some L-glutamine, which immediately helped. And then a lot of it was mental. I was stressed. I was just doing a lot of negative thinking. And I think I was just keeping my cortisol unnecessarily high, which was making my body have a hard time healing. So I think it was quite a few things. The most dramatic improvement happened after I started taking the L-glutamine, though, which is something that Caleb Plouffe told me to do. So I bought that and like immediately started feeling better.
What's your dosage? How much are you taking?
Oh, dude, I don't have the thing here, but it's like 1 scoop. It tells you if you're having issues to take 2 or 3 a day. And I did that initially. Now I'm down to GI 1. I've been just taking 1 for GI issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's supposed to be really good for anything digestive. And then because your digestive system is so tied in with your immune system, it's also supposed to be good for that. So I guess I'd never heard of this before, but I guess a lot of people, if they're starting to feel like they might be getting sick or they're around sick people, they'll start taking glutamine, and people swear by it. They say it wards off basic common colds and stuff because it boosts up your immune system. So haven't tested that. Don't know anything about
Dr. it. Rhonda Patrick is big on glutamine.
Yes.
Real big. She takes it fasted in the morning. I forget her dosage, but I looked at the one that I got, and I take like 3 in the morning. I mean, we got deathly sick, a couple months ago or a month ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, I do feel like I've been less sick, even though I'm still working paramedic and in the hospitals and with a bunch of sickies and homeless and whatnot. I feel like I've been less sick this year. Or, besides the one, deathbed.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. There's nothing you can take to ward off everything, but I mean, if you can eliminate 1 or 2 colds a year, that'd be a huge win.
That's good. Well, you're talking about it. I mean, it seemed I've definitely feel like I've been in a rut, like, or a season of blah. I'm on my phone more than often. I know we were coming out of that sickness. I feel like I haven't really been driving on some of the things that I'm normally like crazy passionate about, like the podcast or the program, or even the B&W stuff, which helps a lot of people. I'm just more reactionary to like when a call or an email comes in instead of like really driving, which is, and then the workout thing, I feel like everything's been a chore, like, oh man, I really got to force myself to get my shoes on and get it in. And like, hey, I'll do some pumps, but like haven't really since the 4x4x48, I haven't really tried to do any cardio stuff or had a, and I know pros have a plan. I have a plan, but it's one of those things that, it just seems off. Everything seems off. You know what I mean? Or it's like a season of blah, which I'm not trying to beat myself up too much about it, but I'm like, it would be nice to get out of that. Cause I definitely like more of the season of like, hey, when you're driving the boat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, dude, I'm definitely in the same season, especially when it comes to this podcast and the program. It just kind of feels like every time I try to sit down and tackle something for it, even if it's something as simple as scheduling a guest, it feels really hard to do. Like it's just, I don't know, definitely feel like I'm down. You said at the beginning of the episode, you said like being down in the valley, and which is interesting because that immediately made me think about a lot of the talks we've had about the program where we talk about that mountaintop experience, literally mountaintop because we're on the mountains, but also just like those times in life where you're motivated, you've got some new inputs coming in, you feel fired up, you want to work out, you can't wait to get home and knock out that project or whatever, and you're raring and ready to go. But then there's those seasons where you're down in the valley, which we've talked about this multiple times, but we both feel like we're kind of in that spot. And like you said, it's not a woe is me thing. It's a normal pattern of life, right? We go through these highs and lows. And so then, I mean, we just briefly talked about it at the beginning, but before we hit record, so you didn't hear it, don't think you missed it. But like, what do you do? What do you do when you're down there?
Well, I'm always thinking the basics, right? Like I have been working more and I don't sleep great at the station. I know a lot of it has to do with my sleep. I struggle with sleep. I'm just going to say it. I've noticed Nole has a gift. He can just fall asleep. I will stare at the ceiling. And then when we get a call or we get toned out at night, I suck. I suck at going back to sleep. I feel like, oh, I have to take a piss, or maybe I need a scoop of peanut butter, dude. And then I'm like, and then the death sentence is looking at your phone. And then I got, you know what I mean? So like, I know like I have to start with like the basics is like force myself to try to get better sleep. I got to force myself to try to eat not crap. And like, am I eating desserts a lot? Am I eating lasagna? Am I eating pizza? Like that's a thing. So I got to start with the basics. Am I taking basic multivitamins and stuff like that? And then exercise. But other than that, like, I feel like for me, I've been doing less things that give me joy, like hanging out with a buddy or getting outside and going on a hike or calling a friend, or like, I feel like I need to change up the environment and do something different because it's kind of the same monotonous thing. Work, home, work, home, work, home, work, home.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do fall asleep incredibly easy, but I've been in a mode where I'm squandering my nights at work, where I can go to bed easily at the station that I'm at we'll say 9:00 will be reasonable. And I'll sleep until in the morning, it's 6 in the morning when I get up to get ready to go home or whatever, sleep all night. But I've noticed this recently actually, that because I have that kind of knowledge that I'm not going to get woken up, I'll push it. I'll stay up later. I'll be playing video games with my brother or my son or whatever from work. And I'll stay up later because whatever. But then I end up, now I am compromising my sleep because now I'm getting less, where I could have got 8+ hours. Now maybe I'm only getting 6. And the thing I'm doing right before bed is a screen, right? So that's just terrible for your sleep quality. So I've been abusing that lately. And dude, my thing lately, when we get a call at night, I don't know about you, but if I take a nap during the day or if I wake up at night for a call, my body is craving carbs like crazy. Yes, it doesn't happen when I wake up in the morning, only when you get like interrupted sleep. So then lately, dude, I've had a bunch of nights where we do get a call and then I'll go in the kitchen and I just like, I lose all self-control and I just start eating bowls of cereal at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is one of the worst things that you can do for the rest of your night's sleep, right? It's trash after that if you can fall asleep at all, which I can, but then I wake up feeling terrible. But yeah, those are the things. Like, obviously that's the wrong answer. Like, if I'm trying to get out of this valley and this slump that I'm in, I know the things that I should be doing. And I don't know, dude. I guess I'm just kind of accepting the status quo in certain ways and just like, whatever, I'll push through it.
There's a weird phenomenon. My wife calls it reclaiming my own time. Like when I come home on the day of, I know I'm probably tired from the shift before.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of like doing what you do, is like getting in bed when the kids go to bed at like 9 o'clock.
Right.
I'll put them down and then stay up and watch a movie or like
flip
around or like do laundry. Or, I don't know what I'm doing, but she thinks it's like me reclaiming my own time. Like, oh, I can do, you know.
I have the option. Yeah.
I have the option, which is not good either, you know, and like everything I've ever read says like consistent sleep times. And now I know we can't do that at work, but
right. Well,
you know, the more I can like push through and go to bed early, the better chance I have of feeling better and stopping that cycle of blah. But it's sometimes hard to do.
Yeah. And that's really, I mean, you started with that for a reason, right? That's the low hanging fruit, is something that, at least when you're home, is controllable. For me at work, it's somewhat controllable, but you got to start with those things, especially if you're in a season where you're down in the valley and it's because of external circumstances, whether it's an illness or some family tragedy or something. Those are things you can't control. So then you do have to start looking at, okay, what are the things that I can actually affect? There was a captain recently at my station. His name's Haynes. Good dude. And he was talking about something completely unrelated, but he had an analogy that I really liked and I've been thinking about a lot. And he was talking about your sphere of influence. Have you heard of this?
Yep.
You've heard of this. I'd never heard of it before, but it made a lot of sense to me. And so he was talking about, you know, you've got all these concerns and then you basically have these three circles, these Venn diagrams. And he was talking about learning to only focus your energies on the things that you could actually affect. So having knowledge about whatever's going on in the world, the Iran war, for example, well, it's not inherently bad if you're expending energy on thinking about it and talking about it and it's consuming your thoughts, that's outside of your sphere of influence, is basically his point, and that it's wasted energy. And so I think the same principle can be applied here with being down in the valley. If I'm down in the valley because, I don't know, a car broke down or a loved one died or something, those like things that you can't really do anything about in the moment, then thinking about putting energy into worrying about talking about it, it's not valuable because you can't really do anything about it. So then you have to refocus and go, well, what is in my sphere of influence? Going to bed early, doing breathing, being in the Word, spending time with the kids, like those type of things.
I remember your dad was talking about how like our brains don't have the actual capacity to like ingest the amount of information that we get on a daily basis. Like we just don't. We are not like biologically wired to like wake up and know everything in the world that is going on.
Yeah.
And then
every
think
detail.
that there's not going to be a like a repercussion, or maybe that your brain is like overwhelmed. And sometimes I think about that. Sometimes I'll wake up, and full disclosure, like I will look at my phone, I'll see what's going on in the world. I'll try to like check in, and by the end of the day, I'm like, you're either overstimulated or what. But I was listening to the Tim Ferriss, who I quote often, and now he might be in a different area. The way he's a very successful man, top podcaster, author. He does a lot of angel investing and tons of stuff. He's not married. He does not have kids, but 3 hours is blocked out of the day for creative things in the morning. So whether it's his writing, his podcast, he just doesn't go into like the emails or the phone calls or the work stuff or whatever. We really don't have that luxury, but I do though. If I think about it, like I could block out on the days that I'm off. I'm on a 4-day right now. I'm 4 days off. When I wake up, I don't have to get into like, watching Fox News and then doing emails and then handling chores. I love the creative part about it. I could think about what we can do on a podcast or the program or how to help somebody or do something creative on music stuff or like, and so I'm trying to pivot, like, hey, I'm looking at my year as a quarterly and we kind of finished up the first quarter. I'm like, hey, the second quarter, I'm going to try to pivot on the days that I have home. There's not a whole lot in that's like burning fires that need to be taken care of. Is try to do something in the creative realm in those first few hours.
Yeah, that's really solid. I actually think I picked that up from you somewhere else through Tim Ferriss or something, because I noticed that my wife is a creative person and she's actually talked about it before too, about how doing the creative thing that she needs to do. Like, for example, right now she's working on stuff for her sister's wedding. So she's making, I don't know, flower arrangements, corsages. I don't really know what that is, but she's doing stuff like that. And she tries to do it earlier in the day because that's when being creative is more effective and you haven't burned your energy or your brain power, if you will, doing the random mundane chores that you kind of just have to do. I had a realization that's a little different than this, but also similar. I was just home for 4 days and Indy is turning 11 this month.
Yeah.
And he's always been a super active kid. He just wants to wrestle. He wants to fight. He wants to be outside. He's active, very active. And I'm dad. So when I'm home, he's constantly asking me to do stuff with him. And I noticed this 4-day that I was putting doing stuff with him off until I finished like the kind of the work and the chores of the day. So, I needed to hang some bikes on. I needed to put up some hooks for bikes to hang on the side of the deck. Like, just stuff around the house. Needed to do some stuff with some of the cars, had to switch a battery out, just like work, dad stuff. And so the first couple of days I was like, okay, yeah, we'll get to that. And I'm still trying to include him in those projects. I'm not just ignoring him, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to throw the football. He wants to, run through the woods. The last couple of days I switched that around and started trying to give him some time and attention. And it's amazing watching that and how much it means to him. It almost broke my heart because we threw the football back and forth for like 10 minutes and then we moved on to the next thing because it started to rain. But afterward he was like, thanks, Dad. Thanks for throwing the ball with me. And I was like, dude, I'm such an ass. Like the last couple of days I've been making him wait until the end of the day when I'm tired. Right. And now I have less energy and I'm still trying to be there for him and do the things, but it's like, it's so much better to knock that stuff out. And then in the end, when I looked at it, I was like, does it matter if I put the battery in the car right now? Like, no, the battery's still working. I just need to swap it out. Does it matter when I hang the bikes on the hook? No, but I can have a positive impact on my son's day, like right now. So why would I wait? It was a good lesson for me. I think it's kind of similar.
No, very similar. Last week was the same thing for me. I had my laptop out and I was looking at different emails and different things. And my daughter asked if like she could go and, throw a little crossball back and forth. And I was like, yeah, hold on,
Yeah.
And I just kept saying,
because you got to finish what you're doing. Right.
And then, yeah, it was just like this. I saw the disappointment and she walked away and I was like, what the hell am I doing, dude? I just slammed the laptop down. I went outside and we had a blast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to say yes. I have to say yes because our time already is limited. I'm not at home 50% of the month. I have to say yes. And I'm looking at it and you're already there. There's going to be a time that they don't want to do that anymore or they're gone. And so I'm like, dude, yes, I have to say yes. You know what I mean? And if that's that's the most important to them thing right then, and they want to spend it with you, then man, get off your ass. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Dude, I think a lot of that is actually trained behavior from our job as firemen. You were saying this not too long ago, but in our line of work, we never know when we're going to get interrupted. So if we have a task that we have to complete that day, it seems universal. The guys want to get it done early. If you've got to go out and do hydrant inspections for 3 hours, guys are like, let's get it done right now. We'll work out later. And I think the reason for that is because we have interruptions, because we don't know what the day holds. If you wait, sometimes it gets interrupted, and then you don't accomplish that task. And then you got to shift it to the next shift, and it becomes a snowball. So I think we're trained. I mean, even here with stuff like, we talk about this a lot lately, but cleaning the bathrooms, I just want to get that done. I want to get it off my plate. And maybe for me, the answer is to, when I go home, take off the work hat, put on the dad hat, and recognize that the task of the day is to take care of Indy and Heather. And that's the task. And that the other things, if they get done, okay, great. If not, that's no big deal. Just move that down to the next shift. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good stuff. No, I think progress for me is recognizing that we're in a rut, or we're in a season of blah. Before, I would never recognize that until like 18 people said something or something. You know what I mean? And then, but it's like, okay, yeah, I feel like, yeah, there's too many days in a row that I'm just kind of like existing instead of doing something. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm talking to you. We're talking about it here. We're talking about other things, and that I was listening to that Tim Ferriss thing the other day, and he was talking about creativity. So one of my daughters has a ukulele, and I know you play a little bit.
I do.
So I just got it and opened up YouTube, tuned it up. And then there's that Eddie Vedder song, Rise Up. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Such is the way of the world. And so I learned that like first chorus, and then the whatever. It's 3 chords, right? And surprisingly, I felt amazingly better. And that was like 15 minutes of just strumming this stupid cheap ook. You know what I mean?
That's rad.
And so I'm like, what do I do? What I think I got to build in those things, right? It doesn't have to be super grandiose, but maybe it's 15 minutes on a little guitar or something,
Yeah. It's almost probably mandatory that it's not grandiose, right? Because if you're down,
right,
when we're down in the valley, you can't see too far ahead. There's not, if we're looking at an actual valley, like climbing out of it takes time. You can't sprint. You can't sprint out of the valley because it's a giant hill on either side. It doesn't matter which direction you're going, right? If you're trying to get up to the peak, it's a slow process, which means that every step matters. And that means that the little stuff matters. Getting the ukulele out, opening a book, playing with your kids, all the small stuff. That's what's going to get you out of it. And then I think the recognition should be made too, that it's okay and it's natural to be down there, right? Nobody lives on the mountaintop all the time. It's just it's not the way life works. There's phases and seasons, just like there is, out on the quote unquote real world with the weather and all that stuff. And it's normal, but it's key, I think, that we don't get stuck down there. And I know you feel that, right? Because we're talking about it. We're like, I don't want to be stuck here. Like, how do we move on? And
yeah, I noticed a couple of things that I think maybe have gotten me off track. So I always like to have the big 3 is like a little checklist of dopamine to say, here's a big 3 today that I put in the notes section of my phone to say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And those 3 things. Well, those 3 things that I looked over the last few months have become 87 things. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I look at this thing, and of course, nothing has happened.
No, it's so overwhelming
because there's too many things on the to-do list, right? And so I almost have to start over, and I'm like, oh, look, I have to do the big 3 just for the day. And then I really have to go back, and like, I've always done like goals and goal setting, but then this year, for some reason, I think we were busy. The program was in January. I just kind of threw it in a drawer and I haven't reviewed it. And I got to go back and pull those out and either redo it or see what's up and then try to incorporate that more often, because anytime that I have it in the front of my head and I'm looking at it and I'm working backwards on those goals, I feel like, okay, that's where I'm driving the bus a little bit. That's where I'm moving forward. I feel a little bit better. I'm getting the dopamine hits of crossing things off the list, and I'm not. I'm just like, it's more of a reactionary thing right now. And so I'm like, dude, we got to get back to what we know what to do. It's like, I have to put down the goals. I got to look at the goal setting, if it's appropriate for the rest of the year. And then let's work backwards, but only do it in smaller increments of 3 things a day, or what can I do? What's the most positive thing today?
Yeah, that's key, man. I kill myself with huge lists all the time. I've had a list in my notebook with program stuff for the last month, and it's so long that most days I don't even look at it. It's just like, It's too much, right? And should I be able to open that giant list and just pick 1 or 2 things? Of course, but it's like, it feels too overwhelming to look at that giant list and just go, I'm never going to get all that done. So then I go do something else entirely, which is not the right answer. But
no. Yeah, I think for some reason I have to have maybe like a wish list of things that we'd like to do and put that on another one, and then randomly put out 1 or 2 of those things.
Yeah, pull them out, put them on a different thing. Yeah.
When it seems appropriate, like that's a day. Yeah, and then the last thing I know, like I recognize, is just like my personal things are like the garage is a mess. There's piles of clothes. I have some things that I need to like reorganize or toss or get rid of, and kind of like do some downsizing. What do they call it? Minimalist. The minimalists.
Minimalizing. Minimalist.
Yeah, I'm just like looking around. I have piles of papers and different things, and like the tax return stuff is still out. I'm like, I need to go put that away. I feel like, oh, maybe that's all crowding your brain.
Yeah.
Where you're just kind of frozen, where, hey, you know what it feels like when you have your clothes folded up in your, you got your socks put away, you got your stuff laid out for the day. It feels good. It feels like there's something clear in your head. It's the same concept of like making your bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm being off. And so I'm like, all right, let's get back to those basics. Let's literally clean house, get the stuff organized, and that way you can clean your head to then move forward.
Yeah, there's definitely something about that. It just steals mental bandwidth, if you will. And that's another one of those funny life things. Like, it feels so good when you walk back into your room and the bed's made. Or the other day, we have a plastic bin out in front of our house that we store whatever we don't want to look at in. So there's everything in there, from bike jumps to fish catching nets to, I don't even know, sandbags and kettlebells. Like, everything is in there. And it was so full, I couldn't get to what I was looking for. So I pulled everything out, threw a bunch of stuff away, and I rearranged it. And it felt great. It took me 30 minutes, but it was something that had been bothering me every time I went in there to get a chair out or whatever for months and months and months. And then you do that, and then it feels good. And then even if I don't look in the box, but I park the car next to the box, I think, oh yeah, that's all dialed right now. That little stuff is big. I think that does eat up your bandwidth, because it just lives in the back of your brain, even if you're not thinking about it.
And it's not what I want to do. A lot of times I'm like, oh, it's raining. Let's get outside and jump in muddy puddles. Like, let's do that.
Yeah.
But then I realized, like, well, I just kept leaving these other tasks. They keep piling up. And the house is more and more, my own personal stuff is more and more disorganized. Well, I probably should have done that so I could enjoy the other thing first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, dude, I got to talk about one more thing before we close this out.
Yeah.
Because this has been burning in my brain, and it's unrelated to the Valley. I wanted to kind of work on this season, improving my VO2 Max.
Oh.
And you got to do so I'm tracking with a Garmin watch, and you got to do certain type of workouts to even like have that be something that it tries to use an algorithm to figure out. So I was looking around, and turns out the Norwegian 4x4, which you told me about probably a year ago, is like the best way to bring up your VO2 max. So I was like, I don't know how to do that. I'll do that.
And the hardest.
It's awful. So I did it done it a couple of times on the Echo bike at home and the Assault bike here.
Oh no, you can't do it on the Echo bike.
Oh, I love it, dude.
What? That's the worst piece of machinery to try to do that on.
I feel like it's the best because it's painful, but it's like I'm staring at my heart rate, and I can very easily increase or decrease my effort. I mean, it feels terrible.
Let me back up. The Norwegian 4x4 has been a studied exercise that can increase your VO2 max. And the concept behind it is everybody knows like HIIT works out or intervals at high speed and high intensity. is there. But like the shortest version of that is something like a Tabata, but they figured out that it's longer durations of the interval is better for you. So it's 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off, 4 times at a heart rate of above 85%.
Yes. That's what I was getting to. So you probably told me that, but this whole time that I've been doing them, which isn't a ton, but I started doing it more frequently right now. I had it in my brain that it was simply get into the yellow zone on the my zone. And then when you cool down, you want to get down to the blue. That ain't right. Because for me, 85 is in the middle of the yellow zone. It's high. And so I was getting I did it a bunch of times where I would get to like 80, 81. And I would keep it right there in the bottom of the yellow. And then for some reason today, I went and looked it up because I wanted to know more about it. And the first thing I noticed was that you got to do 4 minutes at 85% or above.
Yeah.
No higher than 95, but I'm not getting anywhere near that.
And
then your rest is supposed to be around 70%, which I was dropping way down into the 60s. So I was totally not even doing it. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart.
I heard differently on the rest. I heard you're almost, for me, I like to do it. The only way I do it is on the treadmill, which is because my fitness level is trash, that I can get up on a run. Maybe it's like my heart rate pretty quickly.
I've done it on a treadmill. I can easily get my heart rate up there on a treadmill.
Yeah. And then, but man, it's hard to keep that pace.
Right.
And then, we tried it on the rower, was miserable. The Echo bike is miserable. To me, the zone 2 work is easiest on the Echo bike, where you can just sit there on the Echo bike and I can easily maintain like a pace of whatever 55 RPMs and I'm in the zone 2.
Right.
But like, full disclosure, I haven't done Norwegian in a while, and I will go down very low. I'm probably below 70% while I'm resting, because I won't make it the 4 rounds if I don't.
Yeah, I actually did. So today I tried to stay up, because that's green. That's the bottom of the green zone, 70. And I did it for the first round, and I thought, you know what? I don't know the science on this, but yeah, I'm going to be too exhausted by the end. And to me, it's actually valuable to see if I can stay in the yellow above 85% for that. Really, it's like 3.5 minutes toward the end of the rounds. It's not a full 4 minutes because you got to get up there. But regardless, all that time in the higher heart rate. And then I like to be able to see if I can drop into the blue in that 3 minutes, like the recovery time. I want to see that I can recover that fast. So I don't know that I'm going to adjust that bottom number, but I definitely now have to bump up. I can't be at 80% when the Norwegians call for 85. It's just, it doesn't work.
And dude, I'm
clearly just wasting workouts. There's a huge difference.
There is a difference between 80 and 85. That is
it's dramatic.
All right. So if you want to do this, they recommend doing it maybe once a week to start off with. And then working up to 2 times a week. But what I would suggest is you try to do it on like a treadmill, maybe to start off with, and warm up for 10 minutes and then go for it. So, and it usually takes me about 60 seconds or so to get into the 85% range.
Yep.
So I'm technically running into the 85% range for probably 3 minutes. And then I am straight walking at a level 2.
Right.
Like
keeping your heart rate, but your heart rate stays up. Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to get my heart rate down. And that is an indicator of fitness, if you can get your heart rate low quickly. Yeah. But usually by round 2 or 3, my heart rate is staying pretty elevated, even during the rest.
Yeah.
Which is pretty, but on the bike is brutal. A funny story. I saw Trevor Graves. This was a while ago, maybe 6 months ago or something. We saw each other at the gym locally, and I was finishing up, and he's like, I did the 4x on the Stairmaster.
Oh.
Which means that you had to crank that thing up to like 15 to get it going, Yeah. And he was walking. He's like, oh, I wanted to try that. And I was like, come with me, And I just watched him for I made him do the 4x4 on that thing. It was brutal. And he's such a stud. He crushed it, dude.
Dude, that's horrible. That's horrible.
But you have to have something to monitor your heart rate. So you have to have a Garmin, a MyZone. We have a link for a MyZone in our show notes if you guys want to look. It's like 50% off.
Since you said that, I actually meant to say this. Our MyZone discount code link, it's gone.
It's died.
It doesn't work anymore. We got to get in touch with them, see if we can get that running again. But a guy in my station, Diego, tried to go buy one, and it doesn't work anymore. So I got to get in touch with them. But yeah, you do have to have a heart rate monitor for sure.
But it's kind of fun. You and I have used the MyZone for years now, and I think
I love it.
It's good. It's something to. I like kind of having that to know, like, we originally, when we worked out with Tim Kennedy and those unbelievable savages out there, we did this acid bath workout, which is very similar to the Norwegian.
It was, yeah.
And everyone strapped up with MyZones on, and there's no cheating. You had to get into that red zone, which is just your max heart rate before you got. And I just remember, like, you can't dog it. I was about to puke after the third round or whatever. I was like dry heaving in like a little trash can in the corner, trying not to embarrass ourselves in front of them. But yeah, it's fun. It will definitely keep you honest. So you're inspiring me. I need to get back on that too, because my cardio is lacking. So I should probably be doing that. Now there's a JP Hilsepek him and Nessa did that High Rocks.
Yeah.
He's really good shape, but he does one long run a week. He does one like Norwegian type interval type thing. And then he does like a pace, like a run pace, like, hey, if you were going to do a High Rocks run, like a run at that pace, so it's like a long, slow, one like race pace, and then one interval thing. So if you were short on time, he's like, that's 3 times a week. He obviously is in great shape, and he's done that. I feel like that's a pretty solid way.
I can't do that much cardio.
It's a lot.
It makes me sad.
He competes in High Rocks, which is
right.
a lot of cardio.
A lot of running. Run. Yeah.
I don't know how many laps they do, but I think they're at like 0.6 or 0.7 of a mile every time. So you're running 6 miles during that thing at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, mandatory.
So how many days a week are you trying to do this Norwegian?
So far, I'm doing it once a week. I haven't bumped it up yet.
Solid.
Yeah.
It's a rough day when you see that on your calendar. You're like, I dread that the entire time until.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing. The other day I had it. I knew I was coming into work and I was going to do it here. And then Diego was like, hey, man, what do we got for the workout today? And I was like, oh, sweet. I was like, let's do a circuit together. And he's like, well, what were you going to do? I said, the Norwegian 4x4. He's like, what's that? So then he's like, let's do that. Oh, man.
Good luck.
He did it, though. He hung with it.
That's funny. I tried to do it on the street one time, like on a run. It doesn't work.
No, you can't.
I was like running through red lights, and I'm like, I got to keep my heart rate up.
My heart rate
out of the way.
Yeah.
But as far as longevity is concerned, too, the Rhonda Patrick I've quoted twice here was saying that really, like, a lot of people have been praising Zone 2, and she's like, if you have to put in that interval work and you have to make it harder, or else there's some sort of mitochondrial function that doesn't adapt. And VO2 Max is, I guess, one of the highest signs of longevity. So she's huge on that thing if you can do it.
Yeah.
Have you tried the rower?
Yeah, I did it once. I won't ever do it again.
Miserable.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's miserable. I can't do it.
You need it's too much of a broken movement on the rower. There's the subtle pause at the base and at the end of the pull. I feel like you need something that you can be consistently moving. It was just too hard.
Twice, and I couldn't finish. Like you worked too hard to get into the 85%, and then I was gassed and I couldn't finish the rest of the time.
Yeah, that doesn't work. All right, dude, we beat this horse to death.
No, it's inspiring. I'm going back to basics. I need to look. The vertical lean works for me. You know what I mean? That vertical lean diet. And you brought up rice, and I'm like, this is helpful for me. I'm like, yeah, I can eat meat and rice and fruit and veggies, and I feel good. Let's get back on that, and then let's get back on a basic training schedule. Throw in a 4x4 once a week. You know what I mean? And you feel good. You can. That's one of those things where, like, if you do that consistently a week, like within a month, I'm like, I feel like I'm fitter.
Right. And feeling good helps when you're down in the valley, right? It helps you.
Literally going to like try to clean up and organize my own stuff.
Right.
And then try to build in some fun, try to build in some creativity in the morning before getting into the monotonous stuff. I mean, this is helpful for me. I know these things, but I have to have my buddy remind me.
I need reminders. I'm pushing the button. Say the thing.
This has been the Fire.
We got another program coming up. It's about a month out. Links are in the show notes. Our buddy John with Hold the Line actually had to cancel the trip that was supposed to be happening this weekend due to weather. He's going to reschedule. As soon as he does that, we'll talk about it on here. We had a good group of guys. We're going to go out to that, myself included. So we're looking forward to that. We really appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you next week.